Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 6 of Finding Elle. Today's episode is going to be about PMDD. It's quite a weird one to talk about. It's not weird, it's more of the fact that I know not everyone can relate to it, but I guess it's also kind of showing awareness of what PMDD actually is, and also maybe help those who may think they might have it. But I just wanted to say, obviously not a doctor, not a professional, just someone who's going through it. So don't think I can diagnose you with it, because I can't, or anything like that. It's just my experience and everything like that, just so I'm sure you know that anyways. I'm going to start off how it came about that I might have had PMDD. So I was in year 9, I think, when I got my period. I was quite late. And as soon as I got my period, I remember we went on a holiday with the school to Spain, and that whole week I just had a massive panic attack every single day, and something just didn't feel right. Obviously you're gonna question it, think why am I having a panic attack, and then you're gonna panic about that more, because you're what the hell is wrong with me? So that was the first kind of sign of something was up. But nothing came about from it, really. I knew obviously when I came back from that holiday I started my period, and I was just oh, maybe PMS, I don't really know. So I ended up with CAMS about a year or 2 later, because my mood swings were so up and down. I was struggling with my eating, blah blah blah. I was just struggling mentally, and I needed some help. So obviously CAMS is the place that you go to when you're a child up till 18. You go there to get some mental health support, if you can, if you're lucky. So I was with them, bouncing back and forth with they didn't really know what was going on. At first they were is this bipolar, because you're so up and down? Nobody really could put their finger on what exactly was going on, because there would be one week where I'd be absolutely fine, I would be thriving, I would be wanting to do everything in life, and then literally give it 2 weeks, a week after, and I would be the complete opposite. I'd be so down, I'd be just the complete opposite of what I was the week before, with no explanation. I think nobody could kind of put a finger on what was going on, because my mood was so up and down, here, there, everywhere. I think it got to a point where I was just kind of left in the system a bit, kind of floating between. There's 2 types of CAMS where I'm from. There's a CAMS that deals with depression, anxiety, and there's another CAMS that deal with specifically eating disorders and anxiety and depression, if that makes sense. But one's a bit more focused on depression, one's not, if that makes any sense at all. Anyways, bouncing back and forth from them, because obviously nobody knows what's going on with me. I don't know what's going on with myself. And then I end up with an eating disorder. So I get moved to CAMS eating disorder. Anyways, that happens. We'll talk about that another day when I feel a bit more comfortable to talk about that. The lady I was with, I'm just going to call her a nurse. She wasn't a nurse, she wasn't a therapist. I don't actually know what her role was, but she worked in CAMS and worked with me. She decided for me to actually track my mood, and I know it's quite silly, because it's why didn't you do that in the first place, tracking your mood? But I don't know, I feel sometimes you need someone to tell you to do it in order to think oh yeah, I should probably do that. Anyways, tracked my mood, and on this piece of paper came to realization my bad moods were always before my period, and then suddenly there was a release after my period. So then I was so grateful that this lady that was working with me, she actually mentioned to me that I could have PMDD. If it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have even known what PMDD was, because it's just not really known in the UK, still isn't now. But if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have gone down the route of thinking I had PMDD. I still would think now, what the hell is wrong with me? So I am really grateful that I had someone who actually knew what that was, or did a bit of research on my mood and periods and things like that. So I did go to the GP. They don't really, unfortunately in the UK, I'm not going to say the UK, because I don't know other GPs around the UK, but my GP specifically had no idea what the hell PMDD was. They obviously will try and convince you to go on the pill because they're going down the route of PMS, but it's a completely different thing. From PMS to PMDD, they're two completely different things. Yes, they both revolve around periods, but they are just two completely different things, which I'll get into a bit later. So then I had to go private. I had to go private and get help for my PMDD, which luckily my dad actually found online. This like clinic that deals with like menopause and like specifically period based like disorders, if you want to call it. And PMDD was one of them. Anyway, so got help from her. I'm now on the pill and the patch. But yeah, that's kind of the background of how I found out I had PMDD. It was more of just looking at the moods. The moods were so bad, and it's not just about being like sad or being a little bit tearful. It is like extreme mood swings, and I'm gonna be like, disclaimer on this, but I am gonna be talking about some things that are quite dark. I'm not gonna go into details, but you get suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, eating disorders, you just get really bad like body image, self-worth. You kind of go into this ball of self-pity and self-hate, like, if you know what I mean. So imagine PMS on drugs. That is literally what PMDD feels like to me anyways. The 2 weeks before my period are like hell. That's all I can describe, are like hell. They're a lot better now than what they used to be, but I'm just a completely different person when I'm in my PMDD week. Like, I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that I feel like I'm just like not me at all. I feel like I go into the shell of a person. I don't know who I am. I hate myself like so much. It's just crazy how hormones can do that to someone. I really never understand how some women have PMDD and some don't. Like, it's like anything. I don't understand how some people have it and some people don't, when I don't know, it's just really weird. But that's kind of about me and my story of how I found out how I had PMDD. But kind of going on to what PMDD actually is. So I'm going to research this just to make sure I get this right, because I always say the words wrong. PMDD stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and I think it comes down as a depressive disorder, if I'm right. Like, it is on mind because it is very mentally challenging, but I do feel like sometimes maybe PMDD shouldn't come under mental health. I don't know why. Like, obviously you do get symptoms of mental health, but like, I feel like PMDD should go into something else, like a different category, because I just feel like PMDD doesn't look like, people get dismissed a lot because we're women, and people think like, oh, it's just our hormones. Well, if it's my hormones, can you do something about it? Because I got told it was my hormones from ages ago, but that was just a classic saying. Whereas now I know it actually is my hormones, but it's PMDD. It just annoys me and frustrates me there's not enough research out there to help people with PMDD, because a lot of people do, like, I don't know how to say this without being blunt, a lot of people do kill themselves because of this illness, and I don't think people realise the severity of this illness. And it's a really sad situation to be in when you feel like there's not really much support out there, and I'm grateful that I can go private, but I know some people can't, and I just feel really bad for them because I know it's just not very known. Luckily, thank God, there's stuff for like TikTok and YouTube where people can tell about their experiences or what they do and how they help themselves. So that's the only good thing I love about social media, is when you're struggling, you can go on social media to not feel alone. Especially with PMDD, I feel like I felt very alone because I don't really know people with it. But when I go onto social media, I definitely feel less alone, that I'm not the only one with PMDD, and I think that's very comforting. So specifically, the bad weeks, if you want to say, are always 1 to 2 weeks before your period. If you're going through literally what I call a hell week, 1 or 2 weeks before your period, please get it checked out with the doctors if you can. Because it is serious. You're not being silly. It's not just your hormones, like doctors say, or it is your hormones, but you do something about it if you can, because this illness is real. It's a real illness, and it's scary at times. Another thing I wanted to talk about with PMDD is how it affects me in day-to-day life. So obviously, because there's like 2 weeks where I'm fine and 2 weeks when I'm not, it's really hard to regulate a normal life compared to your average person. So for me, I found it really hard to have a job. I have a job now, but it's very flexible in terms of like, it's not full on, it's not a full on job yet. But I'm really nervous about getting a full-on job because of PMDD. There'll be 2 weeks where I'll be up for anything, I'll do everything I can, but then in the 2 other weeks I feel like I cannot do anything, and I sometimes can't leave my bed, and I do get scared about getting a job, or I don't know, like I always try and not make plans in the 2 bad weeks because I know that I might not be able to do it. I try and do everything in the 2 good weeks that I have. And it is very exhausting, the whole up and down, up and down. Some months are better than others. I don't know if that's to do with like what I'm eating or how I'm exercising or just like healthy habits that I'm doing. I don't know if that's helping, or I don't really know, but I just find it really difficult to regulate a normal life when I'm so up and down, and there's nothing I can do about it really other than just ride the wave. I know that sounds really cringy and gross, but like that's literally all I can do. And you will find people out there who are understanding, and I think PMDD does actually come down as a disability, so I'm guessing, like, I don't know, if I was to get a job I would be, the thing is, it's such a seesaw situation with telling, say if I was, right, sorry, starting again, I'm rambling. If I was to get a job, like a dream job, I wouldn't know whether to tell someone if I had PMDD or not, because I want to be able to be fully committed as much as they want me to, but at the same time, I know for me personally, I can't actually commit 2 weeks and then I could do maybe 3 weeks and then 1 week off, but that in the real world, that's not possible. Like, you have to work every single day of your life, and it's just really hard to fit into a world where you can't quite function every single day. I know that's not even human anyways to function every day, but like in terms of like knowing that I'm gonna have a bad 2 weeks coming, it's really hard to like I just don't know if I'd tell someone in a job, oh yeah, by the way, I have PMDD. I feel like I should, because I feel like I should have a job that's understanding of PMDD in terms of like would let me have that week off if it was needed. But again, really difficult because jobs are so competitive and want people who are committed every single day, and I just find it really difficult to accept that maybe one day I might have to, I don't know, obviously I'm not going to think about the future too much, like whatever happens at the end of the day, but it is scary to think that sometimes I might not have a job. Like, I don't know, like it will be fine, but I do get worried about those situations, but not something I can control right now, is it? So but yeah, I just wondered if anyone else with PMDD has a job. How do you manage? Please let me know. I'd love to know. So I've got it up on here. It says, while PMDD is clinical fluctuations of hormones, specifically during the luteal phase, it's not necessarily about the high progesterone levels, but rather a heightened sensitivity to the normal fluctuations of progesterone. I'm not very good at saying these words, I'm sorry. Some women with PMDD may exhibit increased sensitivity to progesterone, I can't say it, leading to mood change and other things. So it's literally just kind of like being allergic to progesterone. I can't say it, that's why I try to avoid saying those words, because I can't say them, but I wanted to say them so then, like, you know exactly what PMDD is, if you know what I mean. But I definitely feel like there needs to be a bit more awareness on PMDD, because it's not really known like as much. Like, I don't really know anyone with PMDD. I know some people who've said maybe they do, but haven't actually got checked out. But it's just a really difficult one, because I want to spread awareness as much as I can about what PMDD is, so that someone who is thinking they're going crazy every 2 weeks before their period might see it and be like, hey, like, I might actually have PMDD, and then, you know, it might help someone. Literally might save a life. Do you know what I mean? I know it sounds really like dramatic, but it literally could save a life, because it's serious. It's such a serious thing, and it really annoys me there's just not enough help out there, but I'm rambling on about it too much. If there's any other questions that you want to know about PMDD, because I kind of laid like a flat line of what it is, but not too much, let me know, ask me some questions, and I can make another video all about PMDD, answering the questions that you have. So kind of like a Q&A, but about PMDD, if that makes sense. But I hope you enjoyed this video about me rambling on about my issues. And I'll see you again next time. Bye.